We are recording in progress according to the voice that tells me I'm sitting down with Jeryse Kelly with MJK Events, which, by the way, stands for
Magical, joyful, kinetic.
There we go. And she had a question today about the list.
Yes, let's talk about a leads list. How does one acquire a leads list? What are the best things to do with said leads list?
Wow. Super duper questions. I'm going to add into the chat my preferred list service provider. They are called List Service Direct. Jason is my point of contact, and he can help you out with the list that I typically get. And when you asked for this conversation, it reminded me that it was time for a new list. So I am totally fresh on the list. And the list that you're looking for, it actually has a name. It's called Brides to Be. And that is not exactly contemporary, because as we know, it's not always a bride, it's a groom and a groom, or we like to refer to them as couples these days. So just to be, correct, if you will, a little PC there. So the list, he gets you the list, it comes to you via email. Everything's done via email. It's a spreadsheet, so you're good to go. And it's in a particular order, and whatever software you're using, whether it's another Excel spreadsheet or send out cards or a CRM or some database program, then you move the columns around, set them up, and then you import the list into what it is that you want to do. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Okay, so let's back up for a second, because I know we have probably had this conversation, but the people listening may not have, as to why a list. I don't say a list instead of a wedding show, but I say in addition to. But there are some serious advantages to the list versus the show. For example, I just purchased for $250 1,500 names. That's a good list. Now, before you get all excited about 1,500 couples getting married, we'll talk about the pros and cons of the list in a moment. But suffice to say, if you're going to do a wedding show, if it's the online wedding show, well, then you've got an expense that's an online expense. And I love that show. It does give you a one-to-one personal connection with an audience. Great. And I'll leave contact information regarding the Arizona online show for Brandy Blackford in the show notes. But if you're doing a traditional show, whether you're in Arizona or California or New York, the challenge is you have to give up 1 or 2 weekend days. You need staffing. You have to spend whatever it costs to get the booth. Then you have to decorate the booth. Then you need collateral, all this stuff, right, that you're going to print up and have ready to go so that you can hand this stuff out. And it's even with COVID, it's a cattle call, whether you're wearing a mask or not. It's just a steady flow of people. And if you're really, really lucky, you might book 1 or 2 events. But the real money is made. See, most people think it's in the goodie bag. Maybe. Most people think it's in the business card that you passed out. Maybe. But the truth is, the money is made, the fortune is in the follow-up. And the follow-up comes from the list that you get from the show. So now the question is, do you want to spend $3,000, $5,000 to produce a show properly? Or do you want to spend a couple $100 and get the list? Ooh, what a great idea. I'm assuming that's why we're talking, yes?
Correct.
Okay, so now let's talk about the pros and cons about the list. If you don't have a database or a send out cards program or something that is ready-made, ready to go, forget it. You're wasting your time. Get those things in place first, then purchase the list. Once you have the list, now everything is in place and you're ready to go. If you want, you can get the list and then drip it, piecemeal it, because you're going to do that anyway. I had somebody who got DJ Manager and said, I want to send something every single day of the week. And I said, you are nuts. First of all, they're going to close close you down for spamming. Second of all, the list people are never going to, or the show people are never going to let you do it again. You can't just bombard the audience like that. It needs to be a friendly, slow, methodical drip, whether it's once a week, once every other week, once every 10 days, once a month is too slow, by the way. Unless the wedding is really like 6 years out, 3 years out, once a month is too slow. And smart systems will allow you to say, okay, the date is 6 months away, so we're going at this pace. And the date is a year and a half away, and so we're going at a different pace. I don't know how sophisticated Send Out Cards is regarding, the drip campaign and how you manage it. I know DJ Manager does that stuff for you. And as I'm hanging my shingle for in Faver, we do that also for you based on the date, based on a variety of different factors. Okay. The list, the pros and cons. Okay. First, you need to know that the list is peppered. Do you know what that means? Because I like a little pepper with my,
No, what does that mean?
It means that the list is seasoned.
And what do you mean when you say seasoned?
I thought you'd never ask. It's not Cajun seasoning, by the way.
Okay.
It means this person is a bride, this person is a bride, this person is a bride. This person works for the list company. And they're checking to see what you sent, how many times you send it. Did you share the list with somebody else, which is a surefire way that they'll never sell you a list again, and a whole variety of other factors that they're looking for. So they want to make sure that you're not abusing the list, and at the same time that you haven't shared it. It's not like, music sharing, which you may or may not get caught at. The list people really look at this stuff. So peppered means that they have a few people, a few names on the list that are in that fashion. The next thing that you need to recognize about the list is it is just like a wedding list from a wedding show. Some of them are brides, some of them are not. Some of them are getting married, some of them are not. And it's part of your process when you get the list to weed them out. And you won't know, by the way, when you get the list until you start working it. And you see not just what bounces or what gets returned in the mail, but also the kind of responses that you get. And sometimes they'll let you know, and sometimes they'll be obnoxious and not let you know. So it's a catch what catch can. And I'll give you some examples. When you go to the bridal show, everybody wants to win that vacation to the Poconos. It doesn't have to be a honeymoon. They're giving away a vacation. So they sign up, and mom signs up, the sister signs up, the brother signs up, but it's the cousin who's getting married, or the maid of honor signs up, and so forth and so on. So a lot of names get thrown into this basket that are not really having a wedding. And then you have other people who go to a bridal show, wedding show, that are not getting married. They're having a quinceañera, but they want to look at the other services. So they're at the show, not for a wedding, but for another event. And you need to be aware of that. So sometimes they'll respond that they're not getting married, but that they're planning and then you fill in the blank, anniversary, bar mitzvah, quinceañera, whatever the case may be. And so you, again, need to be in a position in your programming to shift. So you change out what the name of the event is, and now start sending them content that is appropriate to that event. As a planner, you plan all kinds of events, but I assume that what you're sending them is wedding related because it's a brides to be list. You want to also think in terms of having content that is ready to go, where you can turn around and say, oh, well, we can help you with that. And then as long as they haven't asked to be removed, start sending them information. Another really important thing about these other events is what I refer to as the four. Have we talked about the four before? It's not the number four, it's FOR. It's who is the party for? In other words, you may have mom's mailing address, but the party is for her son or her daughter. And to be able to then change the verbiage in your message to say, Jeryse, congratulations on, and if you say your son's wedding, it's okay. But if you know that your son's name is
Aaron.
Aaron, it's way more powerful to say, Jeryse, congratulations on Aaron's wedding. So if you have built into your process to be able to not only get that name, but then to also be able to then include that name in your communications, it goes from here to there really fast. And it also screams, I'm not automated. I'm a real person. I'm not a bot. And I have a genuine interest in Aaron's event. And I'm happy to talk to you, Jeryse, about his celebration. And the his also falls into the category as well, where if you've got a little bit of an if option there, and you know that Aaron, because that could go both ways, by the way, female or male, okay? So that you're saying his or her, depending on what the gender is, and that I'm not getting into that whole him, he, they, them thing, but just old school for those pronouns. You're laughing at me, especially because you're thinking of Brandy, I'm sure, because she's really hot to trot about this. My system, whether it's in Faver or DJ Manager, takes gender into consideration so that it fills in the his, her, but I'm not there with the them, they yet. Okay. Now, back to the list. We have distraction, but that's okay.
Ew.
I'm just going to keep moving.
Okay.
I don't know what your process is through send out cards, but through my process, I immediately recognize and can fix doubles. And there are lots of doubles. In the 1,500 names that I purchased, there were lots of crossover. That is same email address, different names, same phone number, different names, same mailing address, different names, then same names, different, all the other things that I mentioned, right? And then you have to, it's like reading tea leaves. Sometimes you just got to kind of, figure it out. If the email address is different and I'm mostly doing email, then for me, I don't care about the mailing address being the same or not. It's two different email addresses. I'm assuming it's two different people, even if it's the same mailing address. Again, I'm going back to, it's probably mother, sister, maid of honor, a cousin, some relation like that, and they're helping in the planning. And until I can really know who is the actual bride or couple who's getting married, everybody gets my stuff. But if it's the same name and the same phone number and the same email address and the same mailing address, then you want to make sure that you're not sending twice. A, because it's going to cost you, and B, because it's annoying, not for you as much as it is for them. And again, it goes back to, did you really personally write this for me? Right? I mean, I can tell you did, because there's pictures of me in the card, right? But if it looks like it's just scratch automated, it's a lesser value, particularly for millennials. Okay. I think I've covered most of the things, but you're going to ask me some more questions, and then I'll go, oh, right.
Well, my first question is, how long have you been working a leads list from this Jason person?
Okay. So
how credible
okay.
is this service?
So those were two different questions, and I was about to broach them both. Okay. So the first is that I've been using lists since 2007, maybe 2006. So I've been using them a long time with mixed results. But there are pros and cons to the list, if you will, and how I use it. And I'll give you an example. To me, it doesn't matter that I'm tracking 35,000 contacts. I could track another 60,000, 100,000 names if I need to, and it's no skin off my nose. So the result is, once the name and the information is in the system, it just goes. Unlike cards that cost you in some fashion, email costs me nothing. except for the time to, once I've imported it, that's the cost of acquisition. I'm done. Now, if they say remove me, that's a little more cost of acquisition. If they say this is a new email address, or this is my new phone number, or a change of mailing address, again, a little more time, a little more investment in that individual. But other than that, there's no additional cost. So I mentioned in David's group, which is our coaching group, that I'm now currently once again wishing everybody happy anniversary on Facebook. I have couples who were from a list from over 10 years ago that I'm friends with on Facebook that I'm now wishing happy anniversary to, and they're booking me for their 10-year anniversaries. And they think I'm the DJ that did their wedding because I'm the guy that's been wishing them happy anniversary for the last 10 years. And I'm not. I can see by my notes that I was not their DJ, but I was connected with them. And I'm honest with them. I tell them, I was not your DJ, but I would be honored to help you celebrate. And they're like, well, I don't even know who my other DJ was. And he didn't stay in touch with me the way you do. And he's not nearly as friendly. So you're it. There you go. So old days, the accuracy was way better. Now the accuracy is a little less. Again, I mentioned the doubles. I mentioned the other things. You're going to get some bounces. Of the 1,500, I've imported 900 so far. And there's a reason for that, because I don't want to send 1,500 all at once. So I'm managing the drip. But
Howard,
I've only.
can I interrupt for just a moment?
Yes,
How are you
yes.
picking and choosing who to start with?
Oh, no, I'm not that organized. No, once I prep the spreadsheet and then I import it, I import 400, import 300, import another, and then just go. So it's totally random. It's not by date. It's not by alphabetical. It doesn't matter. And by the way, the date, it's so important. I'll take my glasses off again. Are you ready? The date. The date is not the date. Have we had this conversation? Because it's so important. They go to the wedding show. They don't know what date they're getting married. They don't even have a place. Why would they have a date? They think they want to get married on this time, but they don't know. So don't approach it by the date, because that's the least valuable piece of information. You need it so that it kind of gives you a barometer as to where to go, right? And when their date has passed. But by the way, when you asked about what do you send, in addition to my regular campaign, I have other things that are ready to go based on their date. So when they're 30 days out, there's something that goes out that's specific to their 30 days away, right? And a little question mark, is this the date, right? Or if they're a weekday event, this is a little old school, because since COVID, midweek is just as popular as weekends. But in the old days, weekdays were like gravy train. And man, we loved weekday events. And man, do it on Wednesday and a Tuesday. We would offer them special discounts. And so if you're getting married on a Tuesday, man, have I got a deal for you? So, and if that's the case, you look at the date and you send them a thing that says, we offer midweek discounts. Oh, you're not getting married on that Tuesday. You're getting married on Saturday. But guess what? You open the conversation. And that's what the system is supposed to do. It's not going to necessarily give you immediate sales. It's going to open a conversation that allows you to then book an appointment and then make a sale. Okay. Also, it's a great, I know we're videoing this, so everybody's going to get to hear this, but it's a great tool for allowing me to promote other vendors. Right. So when I'm talking about I'm a DJ and I can help you with music and entertainment for your wedding, it's not just that information I'm sending, but I also have this little plug about MJK Events and how Jeryse, Miss J, can help you save your day, right? Whether you're doing day of or whatever, right? So now all of a sudden I've expanded, and I know I'm expanding.
Haven't we chatted? There is not day of.
I know.
Okay, all right.
I'm on a rant. I'm on a roll. What can I say? Suffice to say, the thing that I would send would be specific to promoting a service. And one of the things that I ask is where, okay, again, back to networking, right? Where is the party? If you don't have a place, let me help you find a place. Oh, you're a planner. No, I'm not a planner. I'm a DJ, but I can help you find a place. And then I actually have a form on my website. How many miles away? Do you need lodging? Do you want the ceremony and the reception in the same place? Do you need catering? And so forth and so on. They answer these questions. And then I go through my venue list and I say, this one qualifies, that one qualifies. And then I refer them to the catering executive at that property. Then the catering executive goes, wow, I should work with this guy more often, right? Or I have a, let me know who your event ensemble is. And it's a whole list of every vendor you could possibly imagine, from planners to ice sculptures to photo booths and everything else in between. And they get to tell me who they're working with. So now I can network with them. Or there's a check mark that says, I need this service. And now I can refer them to one of my referral partners. So the list is not just about me, but the list is useful for my networking purposes and for helping them have a successful event. And I'm not always a DJ. Sometimes I'll refer them to a planner or a venue or a photo booth, and they'll hire another person to do the DJing. And that's okay. That's part of networking. How am I doing?
Doing awesome.
Okay.
Doing awesome.
Okay. More questions. Oh, the validity of the list. It varies. Sometimes the phone numbers are right. Sometimes they're wrong. Listen, it's not just about did they write the correct information, but did the person who did the data entry do it correctly? And how good is your system? Did you lose something in translation where you dropped a 0 on the phone number, or that's an A, not an O? So all of those things happen, and you just need to be prepared to take it with a grain of salt that it's not every single one matters, but it's a plurality. And from the plurality down at the bottom, stuff is going to come out that you're going to get to book.
So what is the percentage that you would be cognizant of as to whether you continue forward with that company or not?
That depends on your price point and your business model. And I'll give you an example without getting into pricing, which is my least favorite subject, because you charge what you charge and that's your business. But I recognize that if you're a McDonald's business model, you have to sell a lot of hamburgers. So volume is what it's all about. But if you're Tiffany's, well, you could stay open all year long and sell one necklace and be profitable. So those are the things that you need to take into consideration. But believe it or not, and somebody do the math here for me. What is 1% of 1,500? Times 1? Is that it? I'm not getting it right. 1,500 divided by 1? I don't know. I'm still not getting it right. But somebody do some math for me and you'll see that even at 1%, that would be 15 maybe?
$15.
15. Think about it. I was speaking with a planner the other day, and she said she only wants to do 12 events a year.
Mm-hmm.
That means one a month, or maybe in a particular month, she's going to do 2 or 3, but that's enough work for her. So if you look at the list and there's 1,500 names, and I will work this list forever. Literally forever. As I was adding names to the list, which is so hysterically funny, there were names that were already in my system that were from previous lists, back in 2007. Same name, same email address, same phone number. It's part of their peppered process, right? Or they didn't get married the first time, they're getting married now. And you never know. So you don't say to yourself, oh, that's a pepper, don't send them anything, send them stuff. Speaking of peppered, vendors will be in there as well. And so you'll have to weed those out. You won't know it right away. You can't always tell because it won't be necessarily Jeryse at MJK, events, but it will be just a Gmail email address. But sure enough, they'll respond back, and then you'll see in their signature, they're a vendor. I got to remove this morning from the list, and she was a vendor. I could tell right away. She had some skincare thing. It's like, okay, that's fine.
So how often do you purchase your list?
Believe it or not, once every 3 years, which seems like a long time, but that's only because I'm so thorough with my list. Not only am I working it, and not only does the process weed out those that are not getting married, those that may be getting married later, those who don't need a DJ, all of those things, but then there's a phone number, so you're texting, you're calling, you're emailing, they're responding, the date has been moved. I mean, the whole variety of things. So you can work a list a very, very long time. It just, just depends on how many names you want to work at the same time. How many plates do you want spinning at the same time? And how much of that is manual and how much of it is automated? The more automated, the larger the list you can manage. But it's not my sole source of customer acquisition. It's just a small piece, if you will.
All right, sir. I right now my head is swirling, so I can't think of any other questions right now.
It's
but
always
I do
a treat.
appreciate all the info.
Of course, of course. Again, I don't think it's a big investment for even if it's a small return. But the question is, do you have some automated systems in place that will manage it for you?
Is that a question I'm supposed to answer right now?
No, that's a rhetorical question. For anybody who's thinking about using a list.
Correct. Yes. And if they don't have things already automated and in place, they should check with Faver, because I'm sure Faver can assist them.
Shameless plug. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if you need a wonderful planner, she's sitting right there.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you, Jeryse. Always a treat to talk with you.
Can